Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Music Lab podcast. My name is Dogg, and I'm so excited to be back with all of you for another episode of the podcast. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to our YouTube channel, our social media pages. That helps us. That helps the bands that we feature and artists like Grandview. Also, don't forget to check out our sponsor, RAR Outfitters. That's RAWR, outfitters.com. Don't just wear RAR. So, Grandview, welcome. You are up early. You are on the West Coast in Manhattan Beach, California. How are you, sir?
Doing well, man. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to, we were talking a little bit prior to the interview, and you seem like you've done your research and a true professional. So I'm really honored to be on here.
Well, I appreciate that, man. It's the only way that I know how to do it, because it that's the respect and dignity that you deserve and that each band and artist that I feature does. So let's talk about. So we grew up in Queens, New York, born in Queens, New York. What do you remember about that time?
Yeah, it was so early. My parents got divorced when I was two. We moved to LA when I was probably about three. So I would say, very fragmented. I remember we had this black and white marble floor when you walked into our house. That's probably the only thing I like vividly remember about that time period. But yeah, it was quick. I saw majority of my family live on the East Coast. Mom Brooklyn, dad Queens, stepfather Long Island, sister lives in Hoboken right now, other sister Connecticut. Just everyone still ended up kind of going back to the East Coast, but that's kind of the only thing I really remember at that time period.
So it is kind of unique. There aren't too many people in this world that have lived in New York City and now Los Angeles. I mean, the two biggest cities in our country. So now you live in California. You've lived there most of your life. What is it about Manhattan Beach that's special to you?
I mean, it's truly I'm very biased. I think it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. It's one of the cleanest beaches. The sand's incredible. It's the home of beach volleyball. Growing up there was probably one of I was very lucky just to be surrounded by, incredible people and just, I don't know, it just felt very like fun and young. And I'm actually currently in Venice now. So because like Manhattan Beach is very, family oriented and I'm just a little too young to fully be over there now, but there's something beautiful about just the people, and it's far enough away from kind of all the noise of Hollywood and even Santa Monica and Venice, where it's just like very quiet, very family oriented. And honestly, like I feel like I had an incredible childhood. I was very lucky.
Gotcha. So, like you mentioned, obviously the beach. Are you a like ocean guy, or are you more of a mountain guy, or like like when you're on the beach, what is it that is so special about being on that beach, other than the sand?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I only say the sand thing is because there's this thing in Manhattan Beach where when Hawaii, I think it was Maui needed sand, they actually took it from Manhattan Beach. So it's like one of our claim to fame is that our sand is so good that Hawaii wanted it. But yeah, I mean, growing up in Manhattan Beach specifically is like beach volleyball. We're like the mecca of that. So I'm a massive volleyball player. Played it through high school. Pretty, I wouldn't say like too competitively because like the high school, like my Miracosta, which is the public high school is arguably the greatest high school for men's volleyball and women's volleyball in the entire country. So like I had friends that were like incredible players, and I was always like maybe like intermediate, maybe like maybe intermediate to them. But yeah, I'm a big beach volleyball player. I love that. I love to go in the ocean. I'm surprisingly not a big surfer. I think it's because my mom's from like Brooklyn and like scared me not to surf. She's like, "You're gonna get hurt if you go in the water." So I like she kind of scared me away from that. All my friends were in junior lifeguards, and I would, be playing soccer and like basketball more traditionally, but big beach volleyball player.
Sweet. So, I've only spent a little bit of time. I flew into LAX. We did Disneyland, and we took a cruise out of Long Beach. But I really liked Long Beach. The city, like Long Beach City, was pretty cool. What I remember, like for someone who's not been to California. Like, what is it about like the state, not just Manhattan Beach, but like why, I know it's such a mix of cultures and a mix of races. Like, what did you kind of feel like was part of all of that?
Yeah, I think like one easy one is the weather is just consistently beautiful. And like
Yeah.
to me, your mood is so intrinsically related to your environment around you, whether it's just the weather, if it's, it's gloomy or if it's like sunny. I think it allows, I think sometimes the gruff, like the I wouldn't say like the anger, but kind of the temperament of East Coast people, like the moving really quickly and kind of the snappy nature is based off of the temperature. I think the reason why LA is considered more laid back and, you know, related to those types of qualities is truly because the weather is always fantastic year round. I think also I was blessed to grow up with really incredible people. And, I think the people around you kind of make the environment. So I live with, two of my best friends from high school. One of them is, the cousin of my best friend. So like, and he's my best friend now too. So I think it's the people for me as well. And I think it's kind of this, I wouldn't say laid back is the right word, but this almost optimistic energy that is kind of intoxicating about the city. And I love beach culture. I love being close to the beach. I love the smell of the salt water. But there's different parts of LA. It's like kind of like what you're talking about because I lived in West Hollywood, which is totally different, and it's amazing out there as well, especially for entertainment. I think also one of the reasons I'm here is in entertainment. Especially I'm a musician, but like I want to also get into a media company, and this is kind of the mecca for all of that. So I think it's really industry based, and also just the quality of people to me feel optimistic and they just feel like, everything's going to work out.
Yeah. So let's go back 9 years. You're a freshman in college. You have a little bit of issues. And if you want to talk about that, you can. If not, I think we've all been down some sort of road like that. And that was part of the inspiration to start doing songs in 2018. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I had prior to going to college, I like had like kind of a personal tragedy happen. I lost a friend. He wasn't like a best friend, but he was close enough to where it was an impact. There are people much closer to him than me, but still was someone that left a mark on me. Went to college, sadly got didn't wasn't able to process it correctly. So I got hooked on Adderall pretty significantly, and then mixing that with just drinking and like weed is just not a great cocktail. So kind of in that time period, surprisingly, writing and just freestyling became this really cathartic activity for me. And I always kind of equated like the Steve Jobs quote, like the minute I started doing it, I knew it was for me. Like I just like knew that I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do with my life. Like just knew in a second. And it hasn't been a linear path, but yeah, true tragedy to triumph in that moment. And I came back from college and I showed my parents kind of what I've been doing, and luckily they had the foresight to empower me. And yeah, so been like when I say like started in 2015, that was like me just like writing and like having no idea how to compose a song. So I would just like write and I would think that that was a song. And then like I'd look back on it and I'm like, none of these bars could fit in anything. You're just like writing just crazily for
Lyrics, right.
for like 30 minutes, and there's some beautiful things in that writing that, were very, very poetic, a lot of imagery, a lot of metaphors. But yeah, I didn't really make my first song until 2018, and even from there, I've evolved, and that was like I was a different artist back then. I don't even consider that a part of Grandview. So yeah.
Okay. So do you kind of feel like in the vibe called West, each one of those volumes, like how do you feel like you evolved as an artist and a songwriter between those?
Yeah, 100%. Great question. The first one was so I like started making music kind of like just to bring it back to 2018. I released this project in 2020 called The Drunken Poet under Carter James. The week that I dropped it, the pandemic hit. Literally, it was like March. And so like I couldn't promote it or like do music videos or anything. The world shut down. So I went and got like a traditional job because the world was burning. And I was like, and like I had a girlfriend at the time, and I wanted to be able to like have some money. And I wasn't just like, not doing anything. But doing that job, and I came out of actually doing that job for about 2 years, and I was like, no, like music is like what I'm supposed to be doing. I remember the moment, I was about to get like moved into a consulting role, and like I like for some reason it like clicked to me. I was like, oh my God, like I can't do this. So I went and I wrote the song sincerely to Volume 3 that night when I got home after I was going to move into that role. So the process, I'm just like kind of trying to paint the picture. The process going from Volume 1 was like I came out so hungry from not making music that I was just excited to make new songs. And I felt like I learned some new things about flowing and just like song structure. So I made the song Good News Is Here, which is like to me the first song where I really became Grandview. That
Okay.
song is a very big staple for me. From there, then Volume 2 was it was much more experimental. That was me just like making anything I wanted to make, and you get songs like More Creation and Start Our Night and FYC. And like from there, I kind of like listened and was like, okay, I like the sounds that I'm hearing right now. But then in Volume 3, I feel like I was able to kind of piece everything together more cohesively and make real songs that sound like structured, like real life is like a real song. The Rewind is like a real song that have, and everything you've seen is like those are able to communicate an emotion, also living in a traditional structure of like hook, bridge, hook with like catchy melodies and lyrics and everything. So I feel like Volume 3 was finally like the whole package of me delivering something that I love, but is also accessible, not like commercially accessible, but accessible at like a higher quality, I would say.
So you had talked about your mom and how how like your family life really inspired you. I noticed that you have your mom on one of the tracks. Is there more than one track that you have her speak on the
No,
intro?
yeah, she speaks on yes, and so do you from 2022. Yeah, she does.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So what was the inspiration behind having her do that? And I know you've done that with intros before. You have spoken intros.
yeah,
What is that just to kind of mix it up a little bit, or is that, is there some sort of like method behind the madness?
yeah. I think my parents, my dad and my mom specifically, they're like the most supportive people ever. Like I'm truly blessed those two for different reasons, but those are the two probably most supportive people in my life. Um, and I just felt like I don't know. I wanted to bring in the monologue and support that I hear from her and like let everyone know kind of where this belief stems from. It's from those two people who are incredible, overachievers in their own rights. And yeah, I think it was just important to kind of bring her into the fold because she's played such an important part in me as this kind of empathetic, vulnerable person. I see different parts. Like with my father, I get his grandiosity, his boldness, his perseverance, and then my mom, I get my this kind of healer, this vulnerable person, this emotional intelligence, and I think the combination of those two people is very important. And it's kind of that's what Grandview really stems from. I'm a mix of those two. And yeah, I think having her there though is something that the fans should know where I kind of get this delusional belief in myself. It's from her. And especially her, my father, those two specifically.
Yeah, and I think it's she doesn't really set the tone for that song because if you've listened to any of your other songs, they're emotional, they're inspirational, they have full of like positivity. So I think like having mom as the intro there, it just kind of reinforces that. Is that fair to
Yeah,
say?
100%. It's a great observation.
Yeah.
I also got to
So
say, you have an incredible podcast voice. It sounds great. I'm not even kidding. I'm like, you got the whole vibe right now. You're killing it. I just want to say.
I'm also a trivia host.
I can
And
see that. I'm
yeah,
feeling that right now. That's what I was feeling. I can see that, man.
well, so last night, so I have a Bose S1, have a head, like headset, I got it all, right? I have been doing this now for over 2 years. I have never had any technical like issues. And for some reason, it just wouldn't like come out of the speaker, like whatever I was doing. And so I had to literally like I had 9 teams last night, and it's like kind of an outside inside sort of like restaurant like venue. So I would have to go into the inside, ask the question, then go outside and ask the same question. So I'm surprised my voice is still in. as shape as it was because it was
I
pretty
feel it,
loud
man.
too. So you're, having to talk louder.
I
But
feel that. You're killing it. That's fun though. Trivia host must be fun.
it is fun. It really is. And I learned something too. So that's half the battle.
Definitely.
So you said something in an interview that I really want to touch on, and I really want to get like a little bit deep dive on this. So you said that making music for yourself is the most important, and not worrying about what everyone else thinks. Talk about that because that is, I think artists and musicians, especially with social media and like just that storm that is kind of always surrounding everybody, that's kind of hard to like keep that mantra. Talk about that.
Yeah, it's actually funny that you said that because last night I was figuring out like finding some final instrumentals for the project Better with Time I'm working on, and I was like really and like it's interesting. I don't know. I think like the way that I kind of go about it is I obviously have like a style. I have sounds that like I naturally gravitate towards, but I choose these instrumentals truly based on like feeling. And the way that I choose them is like in the first 2 or 3 seconds, they have to grab me. It's weird. There's like something about it that instantly to me has to sound unique. And whenever I'm making a record, it's like I'm not ever choosing a sound to try and like fit this desire. I think some people are like, oh, I want to make a song like this. It's like, no, I truly allow the beat to play and then I make the song around this thing that has inspired me. And I don't know, especially in music, kind of like what you're saying in the digital age, when you're able to get instant feedback on something, the relationship between the artist and the fan becomes, not toxic, but they can really influence some of your decisions. So I don't know. It's just for me, it's like I really like the first song we'll get to, the autograph that I'm dropping, is so different than my biggest songs, which are like Deja Vu or Superpowers. Like, and those are the fan favorites. They love those songs. It's so different, and the reason why I chose to make that song is because I genuinely want to make that song. It's like, like usually traditionally for a single, people would be like, why not lean back into something that has worked and grab them back? But it's like, no, like I make music solely to make things that are interesting and unique to me because a lot of the music that I hear, which is not a bad thing, because it works, is, not repetitive, but like you've heard it. It's not like a negative thing because it's successful. And like I hope people keep making music like that. But yeah, my intention is like if I'm inspired by a new sound, like I'm not going to deviate from that feeling to try and check a box. It's like, no, the music that I'm releasing for Better with Time, to have the fans listening, like Team Grandview, it's going to be different, but it's going to be just as good because it's me. As I said.
Yeah. It's funny, the human condition. I think it's just naturally like in us that you always want to discover new music. Like you're never, even just the casual fan, like that listens to the radio, like you're never going to be like, well, I only like this or I only like that, and I'm not going to listen to anything else. So like it is kind of fascinating to me that the genre of just like, or the art of music inspires people to do that. Like, do you kind of feel that same way as well?
100%. Yeah, I think it's the reason why there can be so much music and there's always going to be someone, there's always going to be blogs, there's always going to be chat rooms, there's always going to be Discord servers that are, they're focused on breaking and introducing new artists and people, there's something about music that feels young and you want to find the new thing. And I think that is a really powerful because also with music, it's like the voice and the story is just as important. People love to hear new stories. Think they love
Yeah.
to hear fresh perspectives. That's usually why, traditionally artists' first couple albums, are the best. People get fatigued by the perspective unless, the artist reinvents themselves. So yeah, I think that there's always going to be this thirst for new perspectives and new stories and new ideas.
So I want to talk about when any artist or band releases a song. You always, hear them say, it was ours and now it's theirs. Like the audience. What does that mean to you when I say that?
So really, yeah, it's a great quote because I feel like for every artist, before you release a track, like you listen to it 1,000 times and you dissect and you imagine listening to it as your friend or than this fan or the other fan or your manager or blog. And like you're analyzing everything so much and you're internalizing the process of it and you live with it and you breathe it. And then for me, I know one of my favorite artists, Joba from Brockhampton, he said this quote and I was like, oh my God, like you completely crystallized it for me. Like the minute that the song is out, I rarely listen to it. It's theirs now. But prior to that exchange, like it's mine for so long, and I am living and dissecting it and like completely trying to unearth what makes this song unique and why I like it. That the minute that it's out, and it's a great quote. Like what you said, it's because it's so true. It's theirs then in that moment. And I rarely go back and listen to like, I don't listen to Time Is on Our Side that much, or I don't listen to Vibe Call West, any of them really. But like I listen to them so much leading up to it that like I know what they sound like.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting.
It's a great
So you
quote. No,
t-
you're so right.
you talked about your manager, you talked about your publicist. Let's talk about Jackie. I know you've only been with her for 4 months, but what has she meant to you with regards to your career?
Yeah, she's incredible. She's an absolute killer. She, same work ethic, same intentions, same ethics as me. She has just always been completely supportive of anything that if she was working at this other company, she ran this company, Music Swipe, and she just always supported and gave me opportunities that one, I felt like was just like she could have given to bigger artists, and she always did that for me. And then I always went to bat for her with anything she ever needed. If she ever gave me an opportunity, I tried so hard to deliver on that when there was an opportunity to work with her on a one-on-one situation, like I jumped at the opportunity. And the minute that she put up a form to sign up to be one of her artists, I like filled it out that day because I believe in her so much and her vision. And just I think specifically in music where it's so relationship based, like having someone like her that is a complete, connector, and she's able to massage relationships and dialogues and communication is like a great ace up her sleeve. So I truly, I can't speak highly enough of her. She's amazing.
Yeah, she seems to be the whole package. And if
Seriously.
and in this industry, when you like I said to you earlier, when you have someone like that on your side, it's a huge benefit, especially in this industry.
Yeah, totally agree, man. Someone that you can like just trust to like completely, she can represent Grandview. And like that's, I only have like, 4 or 5 people that I could say that about on purpose. You don't want a lot of people doing that. You want to have 4 or 5 people. And I know there's people on the top of my head that could, that are Grandview.
So let's talk about the inspiration behind the name Grandview. Why are we called Grandview?
Yeah, the name stems from my elementary school in Manhattan Beach called Grandview. I went there. I always loved the name. And, to me, Grandview sounds like someone that wants to be bigger than the box that their peers in society has put them into. It just sounds like something that is ambitious and optimistic. And I think when I was like, originally I was Carter James, and I remember before I transitioned, I wanted this idea that I could like stand on, that people could feel like they were rooting for and attached to. And I don't know, it feels like this big brand, not like brand, that's not the right word, this big kind of idea. And yeah, so like that's where the name kind of came from.
Well, and I think there's a lot that you can gauge from that name too. Like there's a lot of like open-ended questions that name kind of
Exactly.
creates, I guess, or yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
and it's unique and like it makes people like it stands out.
Yeah. You ask more questions than you have answers. How's that? That's
Yeah,
probably a
yeah,
better way to
it's a good
say
way of putting it. Yeah.
it. So we have toured with some obviously big name, fantastic rappers. You're one off with Chitty Bang, you toured with Swayze. Talk about how each one of those experiences kind of shaped you.
Yeah, shout out Swayze. He's amazing. He truly one of the nicest people I've met in this industry. When I was on tour with him, he like completely wrapped his arms around me and was like my big brother and was like so nice and just, showed me the ropes. And yeah, that experience was so important to me as an artist because when you go to these cities and no one knows who you are. You really learn how to work a crowd and you learn what people react to well and you learn how to be a performer and you learn what songs of yours do well. And you also like get over the stage fright. Like, I'm a seasoned performer now, which is awesome. Like I can go places. Like I just did a show with Devin the Dude in Sacramento. And like that was, to go up on stage with a legend who's incredible and like, so amazing. Like seeing him perform was like watching, it's like me watching game film on like a professional athlete. Like if you know what I mean, like I was like seeing a professional do it. But like for me to be up there and feel comfortable in that arena from going on tour with Swayze was amazing. The Chitty Bang show was super sick as well because it was in Venice. So I had, almost sold it out with just all the different people from LA. It was my first show after the Swayze tour, and there was so many people there, and it was such a moment for my entire like just myself. So, like I'm such a fan of Chitty Bang and Swayze. Grew up with Swayze, like, so for me to be able to like I have his number and he's my friend, I could text him anytime and he would respond. He's a great guy. And then Chitty Bang was like, opposite of adults and just mind your manners and just the
So
whole
good.
album, breakfast album was so good. And we were talking about it's like, you know, it's pretty amazing to like have those interactions and meet people that you never thought you would meet when you were like, 11 or 12.
Yeah. So between Chitty Bang and Swayze, who can handle their weed better?
Um, I mean, honestly, I feel like Swayze was more of a tequila guy, so probably Chitty Bang.
Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Swayze loves his Casamigos, that's all I'll say.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It is funny how so many artists and musicians and even celebrities like have partnered with like liquor and the alcohol industry. It's just I don't know. It just seems like a
Yeah, I mean, like when you're on tour and the venues that you're performing at, it's not like they're serving Coca-Cola. You know what I mean? You're there and it's every night. People are buying you drinks. I can see why.
yeah. You get caught up in that pretty quickly, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. Touring's a lot, but it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. So we kind of talked about this earlier. Is it tough having another artist or band that's on Spotify or any streaming service that has the same name as you?
Yeah, I've gotten one DM about it. Someone was like, "Why are you using their name?" And I was like, first of all, I was like, "Thank you for reaching out. I appreciate you even noticing me." I'm like, I'm not though. If you look at every single thing I've ever tagged, it's me. We make completely different genres of music. Yeah, I think that was the one the guy was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that." I'm like, "Yeah, it's all good." I think it's just funny. I think I'll tell you, I've never told this story. This is a great story. So the first night of the tour with Swayze, we're in Detroit and this couple walks up to me, they're like, Grandview? I'm like, yeah. Like, oh my God, like I'm so excited to see you. Like, I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, like we listened to you the entire way here. Like, you're incredible. I'm surprised though. I thought you were gonna be like a whole band. There's only one of you. I was like, oh no, you listened to the other Grandview this entire time. So they listened to the entire time they listened to this other Grandview, and I was like, this is like out of a TV show. This is a sitcom.
So let's talk about the live experience for you. So do you play with a band behind you, or is it just you on stage? Is it you and a DJ? Like, what is the setup?
Yeah, so shout out my producer and DJ Ionius. He's like also my best friend, one of my best friends. He's with me through everything. He was on tour with me and Swayze. He's an amazing DJ, like super phenomenal. So he's always there. He helps me with vocals. Then my engineer and producer Eli actually plays guitar with us as well. And like yeah, the live show setup is, I really take pride in what we do live. I'm really focused on enunciation and vocal clarity and we really I think have a unique style where we really meld a lot of 2010s and even now electronic music. We do a lot of mashups. So like for example, my new one, I'm last year for the last shows that I was doing, I mashed up my song Real Life with Porter Robinson's Sad Machine. To end it this year, we're doing Why Live for Later and You and Me by Flume. So I always try and do a really dope mashup, and I play some Fred again as well, play some Disclosure. I always try and like because I was such a big rave. I was obsessed with Flume, Porter Robinson, Odessa. when I was in high school. This guy, people like Hoochie and Gons, I was obsessed with them. So I always try and bring that element, and it lives in my sound so much. And I also play Fred again, Barry Can't Swim, and stuff like that. So I really take pride in like the live show.
Are you a fan of Girl Talk? Are you
I feel like
familiar with Girl Talk?
I definitely heard of them. Yes, I know who you're talking about 100%.
So he's from Pittsburgh and he's been doing it for a while. I mean, at least 10, 15 years, but he'll mash up like AC/DC and like Jay-Z or
Yeah.
like The Who and like, Biggie. Like it's crazy how he like so I yeah, it's I think that is you're gonna see a lot more of that, I think. Like
Yeah.
this melding of and obviously it has always happened that way, but I feel like especially with your genre, you're gonna see that more and more, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just like great because like one, not everyone knows your music, and to give these people familiar sounds and like just give them moments when they're performing. Like I feel like some people treat performances as selfish, where like they want to play their songs or they want to do specific things where it's like no, like what I learned by going on tour with Swayze is like you're there for them. One, everyone wants you to put on a good show, so act confident. Two, like the performance should be about giving them moments that they'll look back on and be like, wow, I really enjoyed that. And I think those mashups do that.
You're kind of though, like, I mean, rappers and comedians are kind of similar in the way that how you perform because often a stand-up comedian is by themselves on stage. Often a rapper is either by themselves or just with one other person, and usually that one other person's in the background. It's not like they're right next to you, correct? So,
Yeah.
how is that dynamic when you're performing live, when you're the only one on stage?
Yeah, no, it's funny that you say that. I try and act with a lot of vulnerability and humility and just like, like I say stuff like I know you guys don't know the words, so it's like fine. Like I really try to interact with the crowd in that way, and it's funny. I do try and crack a lot of jokes because like one, like, when I was like first starting performing, I like went up there as like the mad rapper trying to like prove everyone like I'm the next big thing, and then like, just smile when you're up there and just like show people that like you're human and that you're just enjoying the moment as well. And I remember when I got back to that is when my performances really started to, get a lot better. So yeah, that it's true though. It's like um, it's a very singular performance.
So, let's talk about Time Is on Our Side. That was your basically your debut full-length album, correct?
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Just before that was just the EPs and stuff. So
Yeah.
was the timing of it like now that you look back at it, 4 months later, like do you feel like the timing of putting it out that was a good time to put it out, or do you feel like like the
Yeah.
time?
No, good question. Yeah, no, I think it was perfect. I think it was aligning exactly when I started gaining a really solid following on TikTok. So like we released it to an audience that actually like absorbed it and digested it. So I think it came perfectly, and we really, what we found is that like in the age of singles, I consider myself a mixtape album artist, but the way that we've kind of gone around that is by doing these waterfall releases of like six singles before the album. And like because of the nature of everything going on right now, the fans aren't upset because they're one, they're getting a lot of music. Two, you're feeding the algorithm for Spotify, and three, it just works. So I think it came at a perfect time, and like I'm so happy that we dropped it when we did.
So let's talk about the TikTok. I can't do it. Like I think it's the one app or
Yeah.
the one platform I can't do, but I obviously understand why artists and musicians do it. You created this sort of thing called lunch money on TikTok. Tell the audience about that.
Yeah, so I do like two versions of it. I do a virtual one, I do like an in person. The in person one is like I go to like I live on the boardwalk in Venice, like but like not near the craziness. So I like walk a little bit down. And I will go up to people. Obviously, I film it for the content, but I'll go up to people and I'll be like, "Hey, I'm doing this giveaway where if you listen to my song, I'll give you $20 and buy you lunch." And people obviously it's dope. People love it. Everyone loves free lunch. So I was doing that, and then I also do kind of an online series with it where I'll make a video and I'm gonna buy you lunch this week. All you have to do is upload a clip of you playing any video game and using my song, Deja Vu, Superpowers, whatever. and then I'll choose four winners at the end of the week, and I'll send you $20. And it's a way to have people, get make user generated content off of my music, use my sound on TikTok, and also just like give back and nourish this community that I built on TikTok. And they're so supportive of me, and they like, they truly, I get messages every single day about people just like rooting for me and loving me. And it's like, if I can do anything to give back to them, I will. And, so I just feel like it aligns perfectly with my brand. And like, I don't mind buying people lunch. It's fine.
Yeah. So how do you treat then social media? Because each artist and band that I talk to, they kind of give me a different answer. So, what's your answer? How do you, because I kind of look at it as kind of a necessary evil.
Yeah.
But how do you look at it?
100%. Yeah. I mean, like if I didn't, I've become adjusted to it and I'm like pretty consistent and I would consider myself pretty good at it now. But if I didn't have to do it, I would love to not do it because it totally takes away from my focus of making music. And it totally takes away from yeah, it's definitely a necessary evil. I view it as marketing. It's a marketing funnel, like on my TikTok, so I DM everyone that follows me on TikTok. I respond to every single comment. But the thing that I DM them is like, I obviously thank them for following and being a part of the community. But I tell them to please go to my Spotify and like follow it and listen to the song and rate it 1 through 10. Because again, like the music is the most important thing. So I'm not just trying to keep them on TikTok. I'm always trying to drive them to Spotify. So I use it as like a marketing funnel, basically. That's how I view it.
That's how I do. I mean, we have the clothing company, the trivia, like it's all of
Yeah.
this is like intertwined. So yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. So today we are releasing the autograph, a
Yeah.
huge accomplishment. You've kind of touched on it, a little bit, but talk about the song itself, talk about the inspiration, talk about who worked on it with you.
Yeah, so it's the first single off Better with Time. I'm really excited about the entire project. This single in particular is it's very different. It's very Fred again, Flume inspired. Which is kind of where I want to take my sound really. It's always been where I wanted to take my sound, but this is a great marriage of it. It's still very lyrical. The idea though stemmed from I made 100 CDs of my debut mixtape, Time Is on Our Side. I then sent out, I signed them and I sent them out to 100 fans for free. So it was a really amazing moment just to have 100 people literally want something. And what I did is that I also wrote a letter. So my manager sent them out to all the fans. And then when they received the CD, obviously I thanked them. I said how amazing of a moment this is and like my first project, what it meant to me and like what it means for me to have them on my team. But then I also asked them to, make a post about it, and they did. So I used that as the basis for the music video for the autograph, and that's kind of like the idea of like it's the nature of the song, which is like as I'm leading into the next project, it's like a nod back to show the progress that we had with the first one, to show that, and then the idea of like the autograph is, the balance of staying between, creator artist and creator and product. People can become a product sometimes in this industry, and I want to really stay as a creator. And some of those, it's sometimes hard for them not to intersect, but essentially a lot of times when people become a product, it's often what's the word, it's made official with an autograph or a signature.
It's
So
authentic. Yeah.
thought that. So that's kind of like the song when you hear me rap, it's like I'm trying, especially, because I've never had, even though the audience isn't massive by any means, I never had real eyes on me. And you feel the pressure, you feel different. I'll tell you that. Like when you have people in the mind telling you that they're waiting for a song and like people are so excited for it, you don't want to let them down. So
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what artists feel at a grander scale than me. But I feel that pressure and like, but then you're like, and you would lean into like making a song again, like Deja Vu, but it's like, no, I gotta make something that I want to make.
Yeah, it's really towing the line between it being art and you being a commodity. Because obviously, like you're trying to make a living out of this, but you're trying to also make it not about that. Like, and
It's
that's a
tough.
really
It's a
tough.
very weird, yeah, it's a odd dance that you have to play.
Yeah.
And it consumes some people and some people walk it gracefully. And I just hope that I'm in the latter.
So finally, we have to decide, or we have to, what's the word? Figure out this battle. I understand that you are a big In-N-Out burger fan, and I have had both, and I must say, Whataburger blows In-N-Out out of the water. So
I'm
I
leaving.
want
I'm
to hear
leaving this
your
interview.
response.
I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm joking. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just like I can't. You know, you're an incredible podcast host, but I can't disagree with you more. Like I can't. I don't know. I think also In and Out like is like it's such like it's almost like a religious thing for people that grew up in LA. Like it's truly. I don't know. I love it. I think it's my favorite burger. I think animal fries are incredible. The normal fries aren't amazing, but like the animal fries, it's like also it's like when you go there, play the fucking game, like play it correctly. You don't get normal fries, you get animal fries. You know what I mean? Like you don't go to like a steakhouse and get, like a fucking I don't even know the example of it, but you go there to get the steak. So when you go there, order correctly. I don't know. I'm very passionate about it because I think there's also a lot of nostalgia wrapped in that bun. But yeah, Whataburger is good too. I'm not like dissing it, but
It's
it's a
funny
religious
because
thing out here.
yeah, it's funny because like, everybody says now that everybody from California is moving to Texas, right? Well, that's the chance that I had because now Whataburger and In-N-Out are both in Austin. So like I've been able to try both of them because when I was
Yeah.
out in California, I didn't have In-N-Out.
What do you like better? What do you like better about Whataburger?
I just think I think just the burger tastes better. It's bigger. And I thought their milkshakes were better as well.
Hmm.
But
I
I
grew
still
up,
like In-N-Out, but I think Whataburger is better.
yeah, no, it's definitely it's your opinion's wrong, but I respect it.
Yeah, absolutely.
My like skin's crawling as you're saying that. It's so funny. It's like it's such a dumb thing, but like I don't know. I think it's like my friends, I have like friends in my head right now. Like shout out my friend James, who could probably come on here and just like he's a lawyer and he would probably debate this perfectly. So shout out James. It's just like I don't know. It's like something In and Out's definitely. People don't love it, and I think people also get really this like almost unattainable hype that they come here and they think that it's like gonna cure cancer.
Yeah, gotta love when it cures cancer.
I mean, so it's like I don't know. It's just I love it, but that's funny. That's a good debate.
Good stuff. Well, Grandview, I appreciate you spending the time doing this interview. Much love, yeah, just much success to you. What do your fans and audience have? What do they have to look for the rest of the year with regards to music and or touring, anything?
Yeah, so the autograph came out today. I want everyone to please go and on Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, wherever you guys find your music, please give it a listen. I really think that if you're a new fan, if you're an old fan, you're gonna walk away feeling, rejuvenated with like this kind of fresh breath sound that you didn't think that, you might have been thinking you were gonna listen to today, but you didn't know that you wanted. And I think you'll come away from it pleasantly surprised in both, new and old fan. Releasing singles all summer. Going to be releasing two songs July, hopefully two songs in August and one September. And we are hoping for Better with Time to be dropping by the end of the year, guys. I'm working my ass off to make it happen. Two mixtapes in 1 year is crazy, but I rode Time is on our side last year, so it's really one. So I think I can handle it. But yeah, I want to say I'm super honored to be on here. You're an incredible podcast host from the voice to the research to the questions to the dialogue. I have my own podcast. I know it's not easy, and you do it at a high level. So thank you for having me, man. It makes me feel special, and I know the audience definitely enjoys it.
Well, I appreciate that, especially from a fellow podcast host. So, what's the name of your podcast? You got to plug it, man.
Yeah, the name of my podcast is A Vibe Call West Radio. I bring on artists and I interview them. I have them choose their favorite album. We put their favorite album into an Elite Eight tournament bracket while they answer my questions. They then will do the bracket to figure out what the best song of the album is. So it's a lot of fun. Yeah, and I really, really enjoy it. And we can even get you on there. We can talk about your favorite album because I know that you're a big music head.
So, does your producer then help you with the podcast, or do you just do this on your own then?
Yeah, shout out Third Wheel Podcast. There's a service that they own all the equipment, and they shout out my guy Caden, he's my engineer. He mixes and masters it for me. But I'll then like use AI to like create the clips. And yeah, it's a grind. It's, as you know, it's a grind. I do a lot of research when guests come on, kind of like you do. But yeah, I love it. So yeah, Vibe Call West Radio, everywhere you get your podcasts.
Good. Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, I've been Dog. You've been great. This is the Music Lab podcast.